What is going on, everybody? We are live. Welcome to SB Fantasy Football Podcast, where, gosh darn it, we try hard. As always, I'm Alan.
I'm RD. What up?
What do you? What do we do? I feel like Ricky Bobby now. Like,
Oh, I know what to do. I know what to do with my hands.
what do I do with my hands? Like,
You put a cold one in it. You sit back and you either relish your accomplishment. You sit back and look at the thing. You're like, maybe have a cigar. If you placed or won, if you're a champ or whatever. You're like, not bad. You're like, could have done better. Maybe some spots here or there, and you look back on the season.
Duncan, what is up, brother? How you doing?
If you lost, you're sitting there the whole time, in the fetal position at the foot of your bed,
Questioning all of your life's choices.
yeah, or like in the shower, like Jim Carrey on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. You're in the shower, curled up, just like crying and you uncontrollably. You don't know what's going on.
Repeating over and over again, fecal is Einhorn, Einhorn is Finkel.
Yeah. Or damn it, I should have drafted Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? Burrow was there. Burrow was there. Burrow was there. So, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I tell you what we do. How we move on and how we process this. We play a little fantasy football, best ball. And our guy, people do this throughout the whole season. Like, so there's leagues set up for this. I've never been a part of one actually, because I'm in a league, all these other leagues and whatnot. So I joined one because Dillon specifically said, hey, DraftKings got a bunch. He's going to join us here shortly,
Right.
people, if you're waiting. Dillon Busby from Mostly Football. He's going to jump in. We're going to talk a little best ball. And it's crazy. He gave me like one tip, just the tip.
Just the tip.
And when he mentioned, I go, you know what? I'm going to fire up. I did the draft right there in the office at my desk. I'm like, I finished something. I deserve this. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I don't know why I signed up, but it was probably like less than 5 minutes.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Are we going to pull one up and do a draft here?
We can, if you want to show your account and everything like that.
I mean, I don't even know if I.
Then it sounds like no. Then
Okay, I was just asking. Duncan,
I'm
we're going to talk a little best ball fantasy football, but we're also going to talk a little, just what is it that you're doing with your life now? Like,
I'm
what?
glad fantasy's over. To be honest,
Okay.
I still play DraftKings. I still do the DFS bit and all that kind of stuff. We're still making picks in the pick 'em. But I tell you what, man, like when it's over, it's like it's a big relief. Like you can sit down and enjoy a game and not worry that Joe Mixon just ripped one off for 55 yards, or Saquon Barkley scores your 4 touchdowns in like week 4. Jamar Chase scores like 4 touchdowns and 200 yards, and those weeks just suck when you go up against like those dudes. Who else was it? There was someone else that it was Burrow. It was what's it called? Who else had a monster game during the regular season? Who was it? Jonathan Taylor finally ripped one off in the playoffs, like the first round one, right? Didn't he get like 3 touchdowns? I know Josh Jacobs scored 3 damn touchdowns one day.
You had the week. Josh Allen had a couple weeks. Goff and Allen had the week when they played against each other, where they both had like 5 touchdowns, right?
I literally needed nobody else in our strikeout beer league because I had Josh Allen. He scored me 160 points. I just sat back. I was like, well, that's this week. I got up and left.
Gibbs this last week had a monster week, 4 touchdowns.
It's a monster week that doesn't matter. I mean, no, it's
so were you not going? Because I know you had a league that went into the championship, went into week 18.
I didn't. I was out of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I finished third in that league, and I would have. The funny thing about it is, I was sitting there looking at the thing, and I still finished like second in points total in that league. And that would have been something to put in, because you definitely would have played him. But yeah, no one plays like a real league that costs like money into week 18, because there was no Saquon, there was no all of Kansas City rested everybody. Kansas City threw that game. Like they gotta investigate that shit. It's like, but yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're in a league that has 18 week, you play all the way through 18. You gotta get out of that league. There's no reason to be in it.
Gotta have a nice little sit down with your commission. Be like, dude, what are we doing? Yeah. What are we doing? But what it does work in the favor of, which maybe this might be something for us to kind of venture into a little bit more next season, maybe a little bit this season, like some DFS type stuff, right? I know we've done some stuff in the past with Strikeout Beer. We didn't really touch base with that at all, really, with this podcast this season, but maybe that's something for us for,
Stupid
the next
dog.
through the playoffs, right? As you're talking about best ball, what is I'm not familiar with what best ball is. So
It's essentially you don't set a
tell
lineup. You take
okay,
like the best, you get your players and they, whatever. Let me I'm gonna actually give you a definition. Like
okay,
I know like best ball is where you draft a team and there are no transactions or roster moves after at all. There's none, right?
okay,
There's no ads or drops. You're stuck with the team all year. Also, there is no bench starter spots. Your weekly score is calculated from your highest scoring players at that position. So that's
okay,
like almost perfect for like someone that's say you draft a good team and you're just like I don't know who to start. I don't know it doesn't matter. Starting your lineup doesn't matter. But also you want to avoid drafting maybe some injury prone players and stuff like you never know what's really going to happen, right? But
right,
like when I was talking to to Dylan about it, and I went ahead and jumped in and drafted. He goes, "Think about this though, especially in the playoff for a playoff format. Think about
right,
this. You want to pick up guys who are going to be on teams that you think are going to advance." Because
yeah,
once they're out, like Pittsburgh Steelers, those guys were left behind. No one wanted them. No one wanted. Some people took some Chargers, but it was well after all your Lions, your Bills, your Ravens, those, and obviously Kansas City Chiefs, and yeah. So they all just flew off the shelf, right?
right.
Because they expect. Let's be honest, the Lions and Eagles as well. So the Lions and Eagles should be in the NFC Championship. I'd like to see, I guess, the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens,
You seem
but I
very disgruntled about that.
I don't know. I just don't seem. I don't know what's going to happen in the AFC. It's like, are the refs going to step in and physically place Kansas City on the altar? I don't know. They've
I
done it
mean,
in the past.
would you put it past them?
I think they want to get that three-peat in there. I think so. But the Bills, obviously, Bills and Baltimore have a really good chance at obviously taking down the Chiefs. But the Chiefs just find a way to win, man. But anyway, so back to the thing. You want in playoff format, you want the teams that you believe will keep going, so they'll have more games, they'll accrue more points, and you know what I mean. So,
By rule, the great Patrick Mahomes is elected to win the game.
and I mean, them playing the game is just a formality at this point because they need the views and the money and the ad revenue and things like that.
There's this guy, I don't know, I keep forgetting to talk to you about. So there's this guy that does these shorts. I see him mostly on like Facebook, and he's kind of like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, he's been around
You
for a
know what
while.
I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
It cracks me up every time.
She's by
Like
a billion.
she's by a billion. Yes.
He looks like the most shot out freaking. He was like homeless for a while, I think.
Was he?
Yeah,
Holy
I mean, shit. Every time you see him, he's kind of like in a kind of a janky situation, or the backyard looks kind of weird, and the house looks kind of whatever. But I think he was like homeless or some crap. I was like, oh man,
oh geez. Yeah.
crazy stuff, man. But yeah, I seen him. He's funny. If I had him queued up, I would have we could play a clip from it or whatever. But it's always Chiefs by a billion.
Yeah, there's the last one I saw was it was like, uh, when the Raiders have first and goal on the 1 yard line and goes back, turns around, chunks it into a trash can. Raiders lose by a billion freaking points. Yes.
There is there is the he's been hitting plates and shit lately. Like he'll kick it or throw it, and like he's like Russell Wilson drops back, pump fakes like a million times, and then just
Right.
tossed it. Well, it goes over where like a ladder's holding up a plate, and he always hits the plate, or his boot falls off and hits the plate, and so it like gives you some of that old school comedy. I don't know. I don't know why he's breaking this stuff, but he is.
I don't know what it is, but he's got it. Like I don't. It's like the most simplest thing in the world, but I laugh every freaking time. Like
I'm going to it now.
no matter
Patrick
how many times I see it.
W. Cutler _official on Instagram. He's
Okay.
got a recent thing from Jerry Jones running the Cowboys in 2025. He's in a looks like a hospital gown. Hold on, you know what? Let me see. Let me see if I can fire this up. I've already got it. Let me see what I can do here. Okay,
Let's see what you
we're here. We're waiting on our pal to join us, so we're just screwing around, having a good time. I'm not gonna have this audio played twice. Okay, you ready?
yeah.
All right, let me add it, and we'll see how it works. Okay. He's got a Cowboy jersey.
Yeah. There's no audio playing, by the way.
There's no audio. Let me try it again.
There was no audio.
Well, it's playing on my end, but it's not playing on your end. I'm gonna add it one more time. But yeah, it's like every time. Oh shit, he's got a ref jersey on, and then the ref he takes it off, and it's a Chief jersey. It's like every time Holmes throws a pick, or a pick six or whatever. All right, we're gonna try it with sound. Hold on, let me see if it'll work. I hate this board. Sports sucks. Dillon, did you hear anything? Duncan, did you hear anything, or was it just on Alan's end? A little yes, no, please.
So,
because I want to make sure it's not just you, because we get echo and all this stuff all the time, and sometimes it plays, sometimes it doesn't. No audio. Okay, you should be able to hear it now. If I get the damn thing to play, hold on, we're going back. All right, here we go. Yeah, can you hear it now?
Personal foul, pass interference, defense. Chiefs get 50 billion fucking points.
That guy's wheel. All right, here you go. Jerry Jones running the Cowboys in 2020. He's got the nose in. He's got that sound. I need to get that sound. I've seen that before. Yeah, dude, it's hilarious. Did you hear it that time at least?
Yeah, I could hear it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Let me get this out of here. Just stop sharing. Stop sharing. Anyways. Yeah. Go check him out. He's funny as hell. I first saw him like on TikTok or something like that. I was like, what the hell? And some people always talk ass, and he, just like anybody else, you cannot talk shit about the Chiefs. The Chiefs people come out of the woodwork and just I mean, I'm like, dude, just let's just pump the brakes. There's no way in hell that you don't think that they're cheating when they get a quick half-second jump. They're false start on every single play. Their assistant coach is calling timeouts. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's the most wheels off phantom calls as well. Like, pass interference. But yeah, every time there's a pick, oh buddy, I just sit back in my chair and like just ready for some laundry. Yeah, and it's coming. Oh, it's coming.
100%.
It does not come out until he throws the actual interception.
Yeah.
So, hold on.
I gotta make sure first, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, my dad sent me a picture. I was like, every time my dad texts me or whatever, I'm like, oh hell, what happened? Because it's never anything good. Like, Jesus Christ, I gotta go to Kentucky. And it's Wednesday. So
yeah, that checks all the boxes.
There we go. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. I just with best ball, I hope you join one of them. I was trying to see if I could share the league I was in because it filled up kind of quick. It was only like a couple bucks too, and it's like one of those big old tournaments. Like either you're playing for like $200,000 or so. It's going to be impossible. You know what I mean? I've almost taken down a couple of those before. I finished like third or fourth, but it was like 15 people tied for first. You know what I mean? Where you don't, all of a sudden you don't get a lot of dough, right? And then 15 people tied for second. So DraftKings is the only time you can really do it now, or only place you can do it for kind of money. You can join a league. You can find a league. I'm pretty sure you can create a league and join it. But I mean, obviously it starts Saturday, right? That's game one. Game one is on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. We got was it one game on Saturday? Two?
Just one? Oh God. I'll tell you what now.
Because we have a Monday night game too.
That is so stupid. All right. So wild card weekend, it looks like this. And we're going to make our picks. If you're wondering, if you're listening to this, you're thinking, hey, what are they going to make their pick? Yeah, we make our picks on Strikeout Beer. That's the next stream coming up tonight at 8:00. All right. So wild card round Saturday, 3:30 Central Time. Chargers head down to Houston to take on the Texans. Oh boy. And then Saturday night action. I like that Saturday night action. That's fun. Steelers are heading to the Ravens, heading to Baltimore, take on the Ravens at 7:00.
That's a prime game. That's on Prime TV.
Yeah. And then you have let's see, Sunday at noon. I like this Sunday. I like the noon, the afternoon, the late game. I appreciate that. So Broncos and Bills at noon. They're in Buffalo, obviously. Packers heading to Philly to take on the Eagles at 3:30. Commanders going to Tampa Bay to take on them Bucks for the Sunday or the Saturday night special. And then your Monday night game, the Minnesota Vikings heading to LA, which is on fire as far as I know.
Maybe.
Take on those Rams.
Maybe. If the fires are causing a problem, the game will be played in Glendale, Arizona. The NFL announced that earlier today.
That kind of sucks for LA, not to have like a home field, advantage, but it is what it is. Packers win like last time. I know Hurts. Oh, Hurts is playing. They cut their auxiliary quarterback, so Hurts is going to play. He still has that designation. He's limited in return to practice. I believe that was today, but no, Hurts is going to play, and Philly is going to, how do you say it? Like stomp that ass.
I mean, here's what we need to find out is Jordan Love going to play?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I know he's right.
You know what?
It doesn't matter because I don't think Jordan Love's that great.
Wicks look good, but yeah, no, I don't think he says he's good. Duncan's saying he's 100%.
But is he 100%?
Oh, but is
it? You don't need to be 100% to hand the ball off to Saquon.
Jordan Love elbow limited in Wednesday. So there you go. He's still limited. I don't think. I mean if they'll will him out there, but if it's not his throwing elbow, is it? Or is it? It must be, right? If it's your other elbow, who gives a damn? Took a hit on the elbow week 18 and did not return. Dude, what's his name was pretty good to watch. He was fun to watch. But I mean, yeah, you're gonna have two running teams. I mean, they're gonna hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs, and Philly's gonna hand it off to Saquon, and we're just gonna see who can outlast who.
Who can run better?
I see that we're gonna have a Philly expert on our hands here in a second as soon as he hops in here. Does he have access? Oh, he doesn't have access. You have to bring him in.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that, I mean, spoiler, you don't have to tune in for the game. I'm Philly. And I like the Packers. But yeah, broke his thumb. Who broke whose thumb? Oh boy.
Hey, Jordan Love's dealing with a thumb injury too, I think.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That guy's beat up. He had a rough year, boy. He had a rough year. He was hurt half the time, and then when he was in there, he just was off.
Or Willie's.
By just a hair.
Willis.
Oh, Willis.
Yeah. Backup broke his thumb. Yeah.
Damn. I liked him. He was out there moving the ball pretty well. He's fun to watch. You know who backup I like to watch? Who's it? Who's the guy over there in New England behind May? That guy was all over the effing place.
Yeah. Joe Milton the third.
Yeah. Give me some more of him.
They're both rookies. They're both rookies. So
all right. You want to bring in Dillon and we'll talk a little best ball. Dillon, you ready? Give us a thumbs up, will you? All right, there we go. You got something to drink? All right.
Here we go. Let's welcome to the show from host of Mostly Football, one Mr. Dillon Busby.
What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, guys? Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
It's weird not seeing you like in a dark, shadowy corner with the spotty internet. So, you're moving up in the world.
God. I switched it up. I moved to a different part of the house, and all of a sudden, I'm in like tier 2 now.
Look at you.
I just moved like 20 feet over it. I'm in like gold status.
It's all about location, man. It's location.
Location.
Yeah, but good to be here. The champ is here. You guys didn't bow or anything. That's upsetting, but
you'll get over it.
The champion. I told him. I said, "Hey, all this year, I go. You can refer to me as your champion, your league champion, or Mr. Champion. I don't give a damn. But it's whatever. So yeah, you get the respect. This is the league winner from the SB Fantasy Football. I mean, my man, Baker and Lamar took you all the way to the championship, right?
The championship was epic because neither of us were supposed to be there. If Jalen Hurts wouldn't have gotten that concussion and gone out early, I probably would have lost the AKA Bluegrass Holes. And I mean, for you to beat the Burrow Chase stack at that point in the season was crazy.
Yeah, my cousin actually, we were texting at the time because when Hurts went down, I had him in another league. He had him in this league. He goes, "You got to be effing kidding me!" He was like, "I was supposed to win this game." I was like, "Calm down, bud." I go, maybe something goes crazy and you somehow come back. Yeah, he didn't.
I was rooting for you the whole time.
Well, yeah, my team was easy to beat. I mean, I'm like limping into the playoffs. I barely made it through the season. A lot of issues. Yeah, buddy, I had problems.
So we got Duncan here says, "Go Pack, go!"
That's
You
why you
guys.
play. That's why we love. That's why
That's
we love the game. That's why we hate the game.
so, and that's what Alan was saying. So, what are you doing now? Like, do you take a big deep sigh after the season's over, or do you just get, we're talking best ball now? Do you just hop into best ball?
I'm already checking out draft prospects, seeing who the best quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, looking at them.
Yeah. Luckily, there's not a lot of teams, so you have to kind of go after who I had the second pick. I don't even remember who I drafted at this point, but I was pretty excited. I was like, all right, cool. At least I get someone I know. Towards the end of the draft, I'm like just kind of drawing straws. But I was looking for players that I thought was going to move. That I hopefully they'll move on and they'll have a good game, and maybe I can stack some points. But yeah, Alan was talking about. Have you played best ball in the past?
I did. I started my first year was last season, and I freaking loved it, man. I love drafting, so just taking pride in like, oh, the team that I drafted, made it all the way. That's why I love it so much. I mean, just it's probably an addict's game, really. It's like for people who like scratch offs and things like that. If you can't get enough of the regular type of fantasy, here's another way you can do it and spend your money, you scumbag. So.
And like I
Yeah,
was saying, it's one of those things where, you just start hopping in a bunch of leagues because you don't make any moves. It's like, hey, this is my team. This is who I think is going to pop off. So you can create multiple teams, to kind of hedge against you, hedge the bet a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, really, like you take pride in those late rounds and taking your shots on the rookies you think are going to make an impact late, and then maybe a free agent signing that kind of went under the radar during the offseason, but you think was really going to be impactful. So things like that. It's like I noticed. Let's just say if I had a lot of Darius Slayton this year, and it didn't really come in handy too much. But when Neighbors was banged up, and I remembered he's the only real deep threat, and Drew Lock's throwing him the ball, chucking it deep every time. A guy like Darius Slayton can come in handy. Bucky Irving, I mean, it was probably the darling of best ball this year. You can get him real late, depending on when you drafted, and all of a sudden you're getting monster points from him toward the end here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey.
Whoa.
Yeah, my dog.
I just picked mine up and chunked it out. Well, I didn't throw it out of the room. I placed her on the outside of the door and tossed her toy out there. But yeah,
she started punted her.
I'd kick everything before I'd hit her. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus, there's just too much crap in here.
Yeah, he gets a little protective.
I hear you. What are you drinking tonight, bud?
Tonight I have the pretty good Founders Rubice. It's a raspberry ale that they have.
Okay. Well, big fan of Founders here. I love Founders. They make some pretty darn good beers.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah. So
let me say it is very good, but it's like on the borderline of like if you tweaked it a little bit, it would be hairspray. So it's kind of it's like right on the edge of delicious, and you're playing with fire.
Okay, there we go. So tell us a little bit about Mostly Football. What do you guys do over there? How'd this year go for you guys?
We I wish I was more consistent. It really falls on me as far as us not being like a true weekly show. We just kind of do it whenever I'm available, and Nate is like the most flexible guy I've ever met when it comes to doing that type. I'm just like, hey, you want to do a podcast tomorrow? And he's always like, yeah, sure. And so that part is really nice. The fact that he's just kind of cool with whatever, and I don't, because doing it, you guys can do it by yourself occasionally, and I'm sure it's a struggle to really get going at first and get in that groove, and because you feel like you're just talking to the wall until you get people like in the chat room. So it can get rough. So having Nate there is really nice, and his perspective as an Atlanta fan and as a Georgia fan, and he gives you some wild takes. We remember the Cam Newton stuff. So
here's my next question. Duncan just subbed to you, so thank you there, Duncan. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Duncan.
How does it feel knowing that your co-host, just has no pride and just backs out of bets? Like,
Nate's a good guy, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Is he? Because he went all in on Cam Newton. And
I feel like you just couldn't see his fingers crossed behind his back when he said that.
he was so faithful in him. He doubled down on the bet. It wasn't just he was going to be. It was he was going to start X number of games. I was like, there's no way. He's not even going to be in the league. He's like, not only is he going to do that, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. I'm like, a top 5 quarterback, like.
I think we all know that there's a certain community that has always and will always idolize quarterbacks like Michael Vick and Cam Newton and Randall Cunningham and Lamar Jackson. So I think that when you just take, you have pride in certain athletes like Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali and Magic Johnson and guys that Tiger Woods, guys that just really stick out. And I think that when you have so much invested in athletes like that, it can just be really tough not to double down on, a bet like that.
All right. Definitely check out Mostly Football, him and Nate. Yeah, when he doubled down and when we looked at each other, I go, I don't know what I think he's not going to pay you. He's not going to pay up. Like there's zero chance. Like at this point, it must be just a bid. I can't believe he just didn't come over the top with a third bet or something. Yeah,
I mean, you just get to the point. You double dog dare someone. There's only so much you can take.
He skipped the double dog and went straight to the triple dog. Like he just completely just jumped over it. Man. So let's talk a little playoff football real quick.
Absolutely.
You're an Eagles fan for some reason.
I got my reasons.
Well, do you think they're going to do anything?
I think this is going to be a magical run here from the wild card round all the way to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Let's see here. What is there to talk about? Packers winning it all. That's what Duncan says.
So, yeah, I should have noticed that little icon there. I'm really okay. I got you now, Duncan. All right. Thanks for subbing anyway.
I meant to, so when you're talking about they're going to win it all, and the long pause by Allen, he's just waiting to tell you that the Lions are going to win. But so as I screenshot this on Monday, right? So these are the odds, and they might have changed the hair. I don't know, but right now Super Bowl 50, because some of them don't make sense. But I'll say this: Detroit plus 300, Chiefs plus 325, Ravens plus 600, Bills plus 600, Eagles plus 700. So everybody else plus 1,400 or higher, right? So those are your main teams, your 6 teams or was it 5 teams? 5 teams that they think is going to win, right? And so they're kind of hanging in there. But if you go and like start searching around like the exact and who's going to be in there, like Ravens versus Lions is plus 800, but they're not even saying that the Ravens even have a chance to win. And then it's exacto is Ravens to beat the Lions plus 1,400. So if you're telling me that your exact is the Ravens to beat the Lions at plus 1,400, that's the lowest odds that you carry. But then the Lions are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. What are we doing here? Like, is the guy just taking the day off? He got caught like just kind of pad numbers. Like, oh, I got stuff to do, man.
We're just trying to take everyone's money.
They want to find a way to wiggle out of anything, I guess. But I had like the odds pulled up or whatever this is from Bovada. I was going to have MGM stuff pulled up, but maybe I'll do that later because we're going to make picks together tonight on Strikeout Beer. So maybe I'll pull those up, or Alan will pull them up for what's it called? Because we're going to do against the spread. Oh wait, are we going to do the spread, or we're just going to pick winners because it's going to be kind of close?
I mean, maybe we'll do both. How's that sound?
Okay, that sounds fun.
Do both. Let's see how it goes with both. We'll do that during Strikeout Beer tonight.
You guys can teach me a little bit of lingo too. Sometimes I get lost in like gambling lingo as far as like taking the points and laying and all that stuff.
Do you bet at all? Sports bet or just DFS and like fantasy stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, state rules, man. I abide by them Georgia laws, buddy. We only do the fantasy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that's how we had it here for a while. That's why we have to go on like Bovada or Bet Online or hell, we can't Oklahoma. You can't even do it in Oklahoma either. We got to go into Louisiana if we want to do something. Like I was driving somewhere or whatever, and then my MGM app picked up that I was close enough to Louisiana. It goes, "You want to make some bets? You're close." So I was like,
"Yeah, you can do anything in Louisiana."
I'm right about that. They got a lot of loosey goosey laws.
Hop on the Turo app.
So let me start. I got a little fancy question out here. I'm going to throw out to both of you guys. You got the news after the games on Sunday. Tyreek's not happy in Miami. He wants out. He says he's out. doesn't want to play there anymore. First, is Tyreek just done? And two, where would you like this? Where do you see him ending up? Where do you see him? Do you see him being successful somewhere? Is he just kind of reached that point to where he's just almost like Odell Beckham type status, right? Where he's just a headache and people don't really want to deal with him anymore.
Hmm. It's really RD. You want to go first?
I'll be honest, dude. I got such a headache with Tyreek. I really do. Like, I don't mean to joke about this at all, but when he was like, his press conference, he was trying to be or it wasn't a press conference, it was in the locker room. He goes, I got to do what's best for my family, do blah, blah, blah. And all I could think about was like, yeah, having like 10 kids this year. That was definitely what you were trying,
with 10 different women.
with 10 different women. You're definitely family first guy. I thought about that. I was like, yeah, I feel you. No, receivers are like this, man. They really are. Malik Neighbors never looks happy. Yeah, the guy got thrown into a terrible situation, but he made the best of it, I think. But he was frustrated a lot throughout the year, going through 3 quarterbacks, tons of whatever. But Miami just didn't do that good this year. Tua was kind of banged up, and even when he was back, Tyreek was on the level where you couldn't even play him. Like he's probably your number 1 pick. He's your round 1 pick, and you could not play him. And it wasn't because he was hurt. It was because him and Tua were just not on the same page. Tua wasn't on the same page with a lot of people, except for Devin Achane. Achane did great. Waddle had 1 or 2 games that were decent. Jonnu Smith took all the limelight. He took the light. You know what I mean? He took all the action. So I think Tyreek Hill is just a little he's used to putting up tons of numbers. He did blame it on the playoffs, where he's like, this is my first year not making the playoffs, and this sucks, and whatever. And I'm like, it's not affecting your money, I don't think, at all. You're still like outrageously competent.
He'll get paid a little bit more playing in the playoffs, right? But yeah, Duncan says he's going to the Chargers. I don't see Jim Harbaugh putting up with his personally. And you got a young receiving core there that was towards the end of the season was getting better, right? Lad McConkey was really coming into his own. Every once in a while, you got a Quentin Johnston sighting, right?
Him dropping the ball.
He caught a few.
You're right about that. That's a pretty accurate statement. He got a couple. But yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah, I think I don't know where he's going to land, because you have to think about the coaches that kind of want to put up with that. There's a lot of coaches out there that are just kind of no nonsense. So you might be the greatest player, the best receiver in the league, but if you're going to kind of bring people down and bring the room down, and I feel like you saw it with Justin Jefferson, a handful of games this year, right? Body language, throwing his arms up, down and stuff like that, because he was frustrated because one, he might not have been getting some calls, and two, Darnold would airmail one on or short hop one to him or something like that, and he's like, he was thriving when Kirk Cousins was there, and now he's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, Pickens is already like that a lot. Like my buddy Ty, he's a big Steelers fan. I texted him like, dude, Pickens has got to go. Like he's just not. He's cancer for this team. He's like, no, he's talented. It's Russ. It's like, even if he is super talented, you're going to infect the locker room with that type of attitude.
Throwing a fit while you're lining up to just take a snap to kneel down or something like that. He's just throwing a fit. I'm like, just grow up, dude. I mean, I know I understand a lot of these guys are young, and I get it. To have that blood pumping and you're frustrated, and this is a direct reflection kind of on you, but you could just kind of be like, all right, man, well, here we go. You know what I mean? You could be that guy. We'll get it on the next one.
Yeah.
But they're not really taking the road.
Ty, if you're listening, I'm sorry I imitated you like that, but that's what your voice sounds like.
Do what?
My buddy Ty.
Oh. I was like, did you make fun of somebody? I don't know what's going on.
All right, Buzz, what's your takes on Tyreek?
I definitely think he can still play. I don't think he's cooked by any means. I mean, there were so many times he would watch an underthrown ball just maybe get a pass interference, and that's how the Dolphins would move the ball. But yeah, I think he's going to do a lot. But unfortunately, a team that makes sense to me is a team I would hate to see him go to, and that's the Washington Commanders, to pair up with McLaurin as another deep threat for Jaden Daniels. That would be pretty crazy. But also another team that makes sense. If I'm remembering Pat Mahomes, it wasn't always the first play. It wasn't always the first read that those two would connect the big plays. It was when Mahomes would scramble around, Tyreek would get behind the guys. And if anyone else is as good as that as Mahomes, it's Josh Allen. So Tyreek going to Buffalo would be pretty insane, but I don't know if he wants to play in that type of weather this time of year.
I mean, but Tyreek's played in Kansas City though too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's played in that cold weather. He's got that history playing outdoors in the cold weather. So I don't know that that's necessarily. Yeah, he's played in.
He went to
Just
audio only.
he's been playing in Miami there for a while, right? For a couple of years. Nice sunny weather. But I don't necessarily know that playing in KC or playing in cold weather would really bother him so much.
Yeah. I mean, he's played in Kansas City obviously before. I mean, I'm sure they'd be welcome to have him back out there. I mean, why not?
I mean, they brought Kareem Hunt back.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't do anything. He didn't score them when he left. They didn't want to pay him. They're like, I can't pay you that much dough. You know what I mean? We don't have the money. And he goes down to Miami. Miami's obviously it's paradise compared to anywhere else. You know what I mean? Where it's 80. Hey, we got to play in December, do we? It's 80. That's the reason they can't play anywhere else in December, because it's cold and Tua doesn't do well in the cold. But
Well,
yeah.
and even like some hardcore fans don't really take into account how beneficial it is to be in a state where there's no income tax for these players. So
Big time.
that's
Yeah,
a huge
what they talk
incentive
about.
too.
They talk about that here when that's like a little bit of a when they're trying to bring in a big name to Dallas. They're like, we don't have any income tax, and guess what? We'll probably get you an Albertsons commercial, like a furniture commercial, or groceries. We'll sling some mattresses, man. We'll get some stuff going. But it is a big deal, and when you're talking millions of dollars, and you live in a state that does income tax, that sucks.
Yeah, if you're a Giant, I mean, good Lord.
No thanks.
You got anything else?
Bill.
You guys got anything else there? Anything else fancy wise we want to talk about? Any other stories that we need to hit up here?
There was something I thought was kind of interesting this morning on my way to work. I thought was pretty hot takey. So I was listening to Two Pros and a Cup of Joe with Brady Quinn, LeVar Arrington, and Jonas Knox. And LeVar Arrington, they were talking about the Raiders head coaching situation. And Arrington made the declaration that he doesn't believe there's a quarterback in the draft talented enough to move the needle for the Raiders. So basically, he was saying Shador Sanders is not the guy. That was basically the headline.
Well, I mean, I've seen Shador tied to New York a lot, right?
At 3?
Yeah. And where'd the Raiders end up with? What pick they end up with?
I think they're 2, or maybe they're 2 and the Titans are 1. That sounds right.
Yeah, I know the Titans are 1, and I don't know that I see the Titans. I don't think they're ready to give up on Will Levis just yet. Just based on the fact that they just kept going back to him this year, right?
Yeah. And they're not really old enough to where they need a bridge quarterback.
Right. And Levis is still on his rookie deal, right? I think this will be year 3 for Levis.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know that they're necessarily ready to move on. I could still see Shador going to the Giants, which is crazy. Like I saw here lately, the clip's been being replayed from Hard Knocks, the offseason Hard Knocks, where the Giants GM was asked his kid, who should we take? And his kid's just sitting there, just tossing a football up to himself. He goes, you got to take Jaden Daniels. He's like, well, I don't know. He's going to be there. So you got to trade up. You got to get him. He goes, you only have this job once. You need to go get him. He's a football player. Like his kid who's in like high school is telling his dad, like, hey, look, you need to go get Jane Daniels. And he not only did he not get Jane Daniels, he let the wrong guy go. Right? He let Saquon go after you got your owner sitting there going, look, he's the most popular player we've ever had. If I see him playing for Philly, I'm going to be sick. And then now he's with Philly, right? And you got Daniel Jones, who you cut. Like, you give him this big contract and you just say, you know what? We're just done. Like, bye.
Yeah. Mismanaged. I mean, it's just a mismanaged franchise. That's all it is. The same thing here in Dallas as well. It's like, these they don't want to. They think they have a plan, or they think they know it. I mean, they're just like they're missing it, right? They don't have. I guess I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, I heard that the Titans, or I read something. I don't know where it was. Probably on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or something like that. And it was like, they're done. They're done with Levis. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm sure draft day is going to be crazy. And who's got the number 101? Is it the Titans?
The Titans.
It's the Titans, right? Yep. And if they're smart, let's just be honest. If they're smart, they accept the King's ransom to trade away that and get a buttload of picks and just rebuild a team. The team's not good. It's not going anywhere. It's actually in a kind of a softer division anyways. So if you can build now, you're already steps ahead, right? And if you don't see a quarterback, let Levis and Mason Rudolph out there screw around for another year, and you get your rookies used to protecting them or what, they need a lot of help. And they're not going to do it with just getting Shedeur Sanders. That ain't going to fix anything.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Duncan says Shedor's not going number 1. He's not going number 1. Yeah, I don't think he will either.
Yeah. He might still get, like you said, he still might go to the Giants, but I mean, they got problems outside of quarterback. And
I mean, the fact that GM kept his job, I'm floored, right? Like the GM keeps his job, Brian Dable keeps his job.
They're keeping the wrong band together.
And then if you go over to Chicago, and Duncan made a comment earlier that he hopes Mike McCarthy goes to the Bears. Well, the Cowboys denied them permission to talk to him. The Cowboys still have exclusive negotiation rights until the 14th of this month.
He is the worst coach of all time. Did he not bring you a championship?
He did. He did
right?
bring a championship. So
yeah, I mean, worst coach of all time is pretty rough.
Worst coach of all time just got canned. It was the head. What's his name for?
I'll make the argument that the worst coach in NFL history is Urban Meyer. He kicked his kicker.
I don't know. I'd throw Hugh Jackson in there. That winless Browns season.
There's some names that be had. There are some names.
But when it comes to the Giants, I mean, I swear when I was watching Hard Knocks, I thought I was losing. I thought I was watching at least one person lose their job. So the fact that they're both keeping their job is crazy. And you referenced that scene where the kid, told them about the pick. That scene, I mean, Joe Shane is at the peak of where he ever thought he could be in his football life. His wife is sitting there texting someone. His daughter is sitting there texting someone, and his son is just screwing. Like, yeah, at least pretend you like your dad for 5 seconds for this. For this HBO show. It was just insane to watch the life of a GM. And that's what he goes on. No wonder they stay in their office all night.
Just wait until your kids get older, buddy. Just wait till your kids get older. You'd be lucky to be in the same room as them.
And I mean, let's just be honest here. His kid gave him solid advice.
He didn't listen.
His kid,
solid.
And his kid told me, he's like, dude, you got to go get Jane Daniels. Well, I don't know if he'll be there. Trade up. Get him. You're only going to have this job once.
I don't know if he'll be there. Do you know how to fix that, right? Yeah. Hey, moron. All right, so we got about like 15 minutes or whatnot before we get out of here. But I did want to hit you up. One, I got to ask you, how many leagues are you in total?
These best ball leagues?
No. Your whole fantasy, this whole season. How many leagues were you in?
I was in 3.
Redraft, dynasty. What are we talking?
I was in 2 redraft, 1 dynasty, and 9 best ball.
I love it. I mean, it's because there's no move,
draft, right?
Okay, good. Okay, I was hoping that wasn't too much. All right.
Yeah, because it's people like you mentioned before, right? You love to draft. That's the best day. That is Christmas morning for a fantasy player. It's the best thing ever. Me and Lizzie, we joined a bunch of leagues a couple years ago, like $5 and $10 leagues, right? Where it went through like League Safe. I joined leagues with random people, but at least we had like League Safe, because all you hear are these horror stories of people getting ripped off because these commissioners
are just like game. All of a sudden, we're switching teams in the championship game. It's like, what?
So, but yeah, best ball. That's just drafting and having fun, which I will be getting involved next year with that. But all right, so you get some redraft, you get some dynasty. Who was your absolute studs this year? And then my follow-up question is going to be, who was the best value pick or waiver wire addition?
So, man, when Mixon was on the field, he was my stud. I had him in at least 2 leagues, and it was a long wait. It felt like in between week 2, I think he got injured, week 3. Yeah. And then, it was supposed to be 4 weeks. I think it ended up being 5 or something like that, maybe even more. But when he was back on the field, he was a monster, and that's why it was such a letdown to have him in the playoffs and have him do what he did. But yeah, he was probably my biggest stud throughout the entirety of the season.
Yeah, he was a bust right around and a lot of players did bust. Like even like say Scary Terry, he flopped in the last week. He scored 5 and he did so great all year. Like all you can do is prop these guys like, "Oh my god, they're amazing. I can't wait." And you get finally get to the show and you're like, "Well, this sucks." You know what I mean?
Cooper Cup was another one. I mean, my God.
They said Quentin Johnston beat him by 1 point. And I go, "That's how you know he had a terrible season."
Ugh.
I don't think he missed any games, did he? He came back, he just didn't get that action. Puka took it all, and then obviously towards the end of the year, they just didn't score any points, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you're rolling out 12 points. The kicker's doing all the work, whatnot. Their defense stepped up, and I think their defense scored more points on a weekly basis than like majority of their players.
Their defense was big time at the end of the year.
Oh yeah,
The
you're
only
only in
reason why
one.
they're in the playoffs. The only reason why they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Duncan, I am only in one and a dynasty league.
Who is your biggest flop this year? And Alan, you can, obviously this is for you as well. Go. So just to preface, we will talk. We're gonna record a show here later, Alan and myself. I don't know about today or whenever we do it, but it's gonna be our fantasy football all team, like team 1, team 2, and team 3 rosters, and we'll talk about that, and we'll probably mix in some flops. But I think we have a recording coming up where we're just gonna tee off on everybody that did us wrong this year.
Yeah.
And you know who's gonna top that list? Everybody already knows. Everybody knows who Alan's gonna just sit there and bag on for like.
Oh,
5
you know who I'm going to ass all over.
Yeah.
But majority of people are going to say CMC was the biggest bust of the year.
Well, those are people that could not put 2 and 2 together. I don't mean to blame them, but me and you talked about it. We warned everybody. We started dropping him out of our rankings, and we're like, "Hey, don't draft this guy. Do not draft this guy." And nobody listened. They'll listen next year, though. They'll listen. Anyways, Dillon, who's your biggest flop?
Well, I'm not going to give my biggest DFS flop because I think that would give away Allen's flop because I'm pretty sure we're on the same page. And I could not believe how many times I was like, well, he can do that. That's easy. And by the end of the game, he didn't do that. I couldn't believe it. But
better team, better quarterback, better surroundings, other talent around him, and just could not reel the ball in anytime it was ever handed, like pitched to him, tossed to him like a loaf of bread. I don't get it. It could not secure it.
I guess my biggest flop, and it's kind of his fault, kind of injury's fault, and that's the way his career's been so far. But Jalen Waddle is my biggest flop this year.
Yeah, he's done great in the past. He really has. And then if Tua's been healthy and Tyreek and him, if Tyreek and Tua have been firing on all cylinders, Waddle benefits that for the most. But it just looked like it went to Jonnu Smith this year. It says biggest flop, him and CD. So he's saying CMC and CD Lamb. CD kind of a flop. I think he still finished like 6th.
I mean, you got to go back and look at those numbers. CD actually had a
good year.
Not what we expected, right? No. We definitely expected him to have a better year, but he was still one of the top wide receivers in the league in your PPR formats. Again, I got to stress that that's PPR formats because you had some games where he had like 7-8 catches for like 30 yards, right? So
he finished 8th, and like say our PPR format, and that's 6 points behind Malik Neighbors and Scary Terry, and they shut him down for week 17. So he would have definitely cleared that. He probably would have cleared. Drake London was at 280. So you're talking he's top 5. And if he would have tore it up for 30 points, he's top 4. So I took him in the first round thinking, I was like, dude, this trophy ain't going anywhere. Stand right here. We ain't got no problems. He's going to do his job. No big deal. And when he's holding out and everything like that, then he nursing that shoulder injury all year. But I think he still did okay. I don't consider him a flop. He's probably about 100 points lower than what I expected him to do.
I have a lot of respect. Oh, sorry, Alan. But
No,
I have a lot of respect for him because he could have easily said, my shoulder, I'm not feeling it, with that going out, I'm not going in and risking it. But I mean, every time he would dive for the ball and land on that shoulder and just lay down for like 5 minutes and come back in when he could. But I have a lot of respect for him after that.
I think Cowboy. What do they call themselves? Cowboy Nation, and also like the Cowboys themselves. They have to look at that and see like, hey, we got a football guy that's putting it all on the line for no reason at all, and
Well, they
he's
still had a
banging
playoff
himself
shot,
up.
right? He was in as long as they had a shot at the playoffs, he was playing. As soon as they were officially out of the playoff picture, he goes, "See you guys, I got to go." Right? But
I got to get this
that was
surgery.
right. He had to go get surgery. So it comes to a point to where you look at it and you say, "Look, if we're not playing for the playoffs, let me go ahead and get the surgery so I can be ready by the time off season starts." Right? You got to have the surgery. You got to have your recovery time. You see what happens when he's not a part of training camp. He started the year off a little bit slow, so he's got to be. He's a player that's got to be there for training camp. I think we kind of learned that this year. So yeah, he's got to go get that surgery, get himself taken care of, get healthy, so he's ready to go when the season starts. But if they were in it until the end of the season, he would have kept playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah. You keep, put the body on the line and whatnot because the turnaround time for a shoulder injury, it's not as long, for some of these other things. But yeah, I'm sure he would have kept playing, but there was no way. I mean, let's be honest, they were out. They were out.
Oh, they were out a while
2
ago,
weeks
but they
ago.
weren't officially out,
Yeah,
right? There's official, and then there's come on, let's be real,
yeah.
right?
Let's
Oh,
real. Dylan, did I ask you already who your stud was this year? Or I'm losing my mind, dude.
No, you did, but I mean, I said Mixon was my stud for a lot
There
of the
you
year, but also I do want to give absolute honorable mention to a guy who was hot all year long, but especially in the playoffs got me through, and that was Baker Mayfield.
That guy. We talked about it every single week.
and here's my thing with Baker. In the majority of your leagues, uh, you picked him up as a free agent.
Right.
He was a free agent. He was an undrafted guy
Yep.
that I don't understand why he was a free agent, to be honest with you, because he produces as a top 10 quarterback every year, right? He was one of those guys that I kept telling people week in and week out, go pick him up, go pick him. You need to go and get him. Um, Now championship week, he kind of had a little bit of a dud, right? But at that point in time, you're riding your guys that got you there, right? Um, but
Was it?
yeah, no.
No, I think championship week was like 5 touchdown week, wasn't it?
Was it? Okay, but, first round of the playoffs then. It was the first
Okay,
round of
yeah,
the
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah.
First
Yeah.
round
Yeah.
was 30 points, and then the second round was 50. So he
Okay.
if you got there, I mean, it's still a boom for he got over what he was predicted, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he went 29 on week 14, 40 on week 15, 29 on week 16, and 50 burger on that championship week. I was actually pulling up his stuff, and it's like, there was a reason I think he wasn't drafted, and it was, 2023 he scored 370 points, right? That's this year he scored 502. So that's the jump. That's the reason he probably didn't get picked up. And then you also had a bunch of rookies. People were kind of going after Jaden Daniels and whatnot. And, he just got kind of tossed to the wayside. But, dude, yeah, he did just fine. I think he just did
How
fine.
about this? So I don't want to take over your guys' show. Who do you think is next season's Baker Mayfield, as far as like a veteran look behind, but all of a sudden, boom.
I gotta see what I gotta see what happens in the offseason, but a guy that I think can be that guy, we need to see who the coaching staff is that they bring in, but Trevor Lawrence. Uh,
Mm.
I don't see Trevor Lawrence getting drafted next year. He had an awful year this year. Now, a lot of that's injuries, but when he was playing, he wasn't good. It was just a bad situation. For whatever reason, um, things have just fallen off the face of the earth the last couple seasons for him. So if they bring in the right guy, Brian Thomas Jr. showed to be him this year, right?
Yeah.
Even towards the end of the year, the first week or two with Mac Jones was was bad, but after a week or two, and after they kind of got in a groove together, Brian Thomas was great. Um, so you've got a
Yeah.
guy in
Absolutely.
Brian Thomas that's really good. You've still got Evan Ingram over there, right? And then Brenton Strange showed that, hey, we can have a two tight end system going over here because I know how to catch the football too, right? So let's see what they do. The running back situation is a little. I'm not big on ETN. He was TD or bust this year. Um, and even when he got a TD, his numbers weren't that great, really, there towards the end.
Yeah.
Hank Bigsby has been kind of, but then again, that could also be a situation like you're seeing with Trevor Lawrence. If you get the right coaching staff in there, you've got the pieces there. They've got the talent. Um, so I think they just need to get the right coaching staff in there. And if they do, I think that Jacksonville team can be a team that you're either going to get really late in your draft, with the exception of Brian Thomas Jr., um, or get undrafted and get a lot of bang for your buck out of those guys.
That's definitely a candidate. I mean, we actually have high hopes for him. I would say almost every single year. Just the coaching, the play calling, and just there's too much talent. There really is too much talent, and like you're sitting there looking at him every week, like what the hell's going on in Jacksonville? Like they should be winning games. They should be putting up some numbers. And
They haven't recovered from that Chargers game.
Yeah,
they
they're
still
just,
have not recovered from that Chargers game where they went up big and then just shit the bed in the second half.
Yep.
And since that second half of football, they've been a bad team. They have not been able to recover since then.
I'll throw out a guy who is no longer going to be, with the team. At least they don't have him under contract next season, but he is a free agent. Could definitely sign somewhere. Justin Fields.
Yeah, I was just looking at him too. I was like, well, depends on what team he goes to, and there's teams that need a quarterback, and especially in fantasy, right? He's a good fantasy quarterback. He's kind of okay in the real world too, but he's not going to get you the Super Bowl. But in fantasy, we're talking about that. Yeah, dude. I mean, he's put up 50 points and stuff like that on a crappy team.
My thing with Fields was I thought he was in a good position with the Steelers. They just got to get rid of Russ, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he was when he went to the Steelers, I thought that was a good move for him because you had there what you don't have in Chicago is a stable organization.
Yeah.
That's going to do what they can to build around you. That's why I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be that great. I think I still don't think next year they're going to be that great because you're keeping Ryan Poles there, right? You're not clearing house. You got a guy like Ryan Poles. He goes out there and you got DJ Moore. You go and you trade for Keenan Allen, and then you're using your high pick to get Rome Odunze. When you're set in the receiver position, you need to get some help in that offensive line and protect your rookie. But instead, you didn't. You had a horrible offensive line who didn't respect Caleb at all. Like, that's the one team that you looked at and that you saw week in and week out as Caleb's getting murdered back there. The offensive line's not helping him up at all. They're just like, stupid rookie, get up.
They didn't help him out. That's the one thing I was like, I noticed. And I'm like, you know what? Let me post. Like, I'm going to post something about this. Like, what the hell? Like, he's laying on his back, and his line is not even like they're standing. Like, turn around, and they walk the other way. So I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. Like, they don't like him or something like that, or maybe he's a weirdo. I have no idea. But
the thing about it is, you can see even though it was a pretty rough year, and he does make mistakes for sure, but you can see the potential and the ceiling when he's running backwards and he's still making these throws that he's making downfield on a dime on 4th and 12 or whatever. He's definitely, there's something there. They just got to give him some time, and he needs the confidence.
He put up some crazy numbers in like several weeks, right? He probably boomed. He had 28 points in week 3, 32 in week 5, 38 in week 6. Also hit the 30s in week 12 and week 13, week 16. So he does kind of put up some points. And that's kind of what you're looking for. I mean, that's kind of what you got out of Justin Fields when he was in Chicago. He's running for his life half the time, but he can get out of the pocket and scramble and take off, and he's kind of fast. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Caleb Williams is too fast. So
I love the way he runs. Like, if you watch him, he's such a calculated. He just feels guys, and he sort of like gives you a subtle stop, and then he'll like. I don't know. There's just something extra special about the way he feels guys around him. And it's not Barry Sanders or anything like that, but he's just very aware of like guys around him and what to do next.
Yeah. He could have another good year. He could be a guy that no one drafts. And then, someone picks him up after week 3 because they're like, you know what? This guy's putting up 30 points a week. yeah, he's on a terrible team. You know, the team might suck and stuff like that. Well, he keeps making connections and throwing some touchdowns. You know, it might work. You know, he'll go through a drought. He'll have like 4 games with no touchdowns, and then he's got a game that has 4 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? So, and then
Yeah.
obviously he was figuring things out towards the end of the year, and that's when everyone was like, "Well, guess what? The first 4 weeks was kind of a cakewalk. Guess what? It's you know now you're playing better teams and whatnot." And he did step up. You know, he had 2 and 300-yard games. He had at least it looked like 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 1 a big goose egg in the last week, which sucked. But you know,
Some of those are Bortles type numbers though too.
exactly.
Garbage time,
Ain't
right?
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that in fantasy, right? If hell, we had a buddy who thrived off the Blake Bortles. You know, he'd get you 30 points in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
I mean, and this is a fantasy podcast, so I mean, we should just let the crowd know real quick. If you thought you had a painful end of your fantasy run, just know my uncle beat me in a 2-quarterback league with Kenny Pickett. You know, I have Jalen Hurts, and he beat me with Kenny Pickett starting in the championship week. So just consider that when you're sleeping tonight.
Yeah, that's pain. But that's fantasy, man. Like you said, right? It hurts so bad. God. Well, we got to get out of here, I think. Alan, you want to run us out of here?
Yeah, we're gonna get out. Dillon, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it. We're gonna have to do some more stuff next season with you for sure. Get you on a little bit more, join you a little bit. Let's just plan on taking over the world next year in fantasy. How's that sound? Does that sound good to you? Yeah, that's great. But guys, if you haven't checked them out yet, go check them out. Mostly football. You're over there on YouTube and Facebook. Is that correct?
Yeah, those are the 2 main ones. I mean, Instagram, I don't even pay attention to, and Twitter, pretty much same thing.
All right, so go check them out. Right there's a link for the YouTube page. Go drop them a sub, guys. We would definitely appreciate it. But thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. We got a bunch of videos we're working on coming out. Next video I think we're going to be releasing is going to be our all fantasy team, first, second, and third team. We're going to have some buzz coming out. We're going to start talking about. We're going to start in the rankings. We're going to start getting into our rankings and start talking about some of our top 5s in the positions going into the season. Without the rookies right now, we got to see where the rookies are going and things like that. And we'll update it as players move around. Trades are going to happen. You know, Tyreek Hill is probably going to end up being somewhere new. Busby, we'll talk about this a little bit on the next show, but I think AJ Brown is going to be on the move. I don't think that's going to be. We'll talk. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'm Alan.
I'm RD.
We'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.